A small Cambridge inn called the White Horse. The Reformation came.
Restless is raw, unscripted, reformed radio.
Welcome back to Restless. This is Pastor Michael coming to you in the midst of Matt's paternity leave. And I know I put out an old Patreon episode and I said, I don't know what I'm going to get to. I don't know what it's going to look like, but we'll try to get something lined up. And when I was thinking about it, I thought, hey, there's somebody I know who had reached out recently about an idea of, coming on, especially when we talked about, hey, maybe we'll have to have somebody else come in and fill in on Restless sometime. And somebody had reached out to me and said something, good friend of mine. So today, in place of Matt, joining me is my friend Christopher.
Howdy.
Christopher, do you want to just share something about who you are a little bit so that people get to know you a little?
Yeah, sure. You may know me as the voice of Weekly Wisdom, or you may not. There's only 20 listeners.
If you've ever listened, so Weekly Wisdom, if you don't listen, which is very, very possible because, as Christopher said, it doesn't have a huge listener base, but that's a side project that sometimes I could call it my side project, but it's kind of like Christopher's side project. And I just give it to you to do, which is awesome, where we just go through different proverbs. And so Christopher is the voice for the Weekly Wisdom podcast.
Yeah. So Michael and I have known each other for, 15 years, something like that. We met at Arrowhead Bible Camp, and Michael did my wife and I's premarital counseling and performed our wedding ceremony. And we've kept in touch since then. My wife and I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We got our first son is just turning 4 months tomorrow. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Praise God. We've known each other for quite a while, which is super cool. And there's a lot of times that we talk about some of the things that we'll probably be recording about today offline, not in podcast form, but I think that it's going to be fun. But today, the specific focus of what we're going to be talking about is everybody's favorite part of the Restless podcast, which is reading Restless. And I know some of you just already, because you saw reading Restless probably in the title, although maybe I won't put it in there. Maybe I'll
sneak it past them.
So they at least listen this far and we get at least some of those numbers on the podcast for downloads. But I know that not everybody loves reading Restless, but I know some of you do. And as I had been in contact with Christopher, he had this idea of basically a strategy for reading Restless, a strategy for maybe even speedrunning, we could say, the Reading Restless challenge. If you're new, by the way, to the podcast and you don't know what Reading Restless is, you can go back and listen to that. Last year, we started this challenge, basically just coming up with our own kind of reading plan for the year, goals for reading built around particular categories of books. So we just picked a handful of categories for books. Last year we did 12. This year we thought, you know what? Everybody does, 12 or some multiple of 12 because of the months. What if we just did 7? Because how often is it that you get most of the way into a reading challenge for the year, and then you're 3/4 of the way done, and then it all kind of falls apart, or you're 2/3 of the way done and it all falls apart. So we thought, let's just do 7. And so you can go back and listen through. We'll probably talk some about the different categories we have for this year, but that's up on the Restless pages. It is also, again, on the podcast before where we talked about that. Feel free to jump in there. But Christopher, I'll let you take it away because you had these ideas of how exactly you were going to go about doing that this year.
Yeah, so reading Restless is often some of my favorite episodes. I love to read, and I'm the kind of person
Nerd.
Yeah, guilty as charged. I think it was Kevin DeYoung used to put out a reading challenge every year that it kind of went up. Like you could do one book every 4 weeks was like the smallest level of the challenge, and then it went up to like 4 books a week. I think that was the most.
Wow.
No, it was 2 books a week was the highest level. And a couple years ago, I finished the 2 books a week in I think it was May, and so I did it again. So I did not have the problem with finishing all 12 categories of Reading Restless last year. But if you're looking for, we're already cutting down to 7. If you're looking for a way to cut that down even further, I was thinking you could probably try to double up on categories. Michael and I actually talked about this a little bit last year. I was trying to figure out if there was a anti-Nicene father who was Russian and some other combination. But for this year, we got, so category 1 is a biblical theology, category 2, a sports book, category 3, a book you already own, category 4, a book from the American Foundation, category 5 is a dystopian novel, category 6 is just the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, and then category 7 is a book from the Western canon. So this one, you have to have already owned this book to be able to double up on categories. But, a book you already own could also be any of the other categories. I figured you could do Man's Search for Meaning for a book you already own that is also Man's Search for Meaning.
Boom. You just got 2 done. You've only got to read 5 more books. This is, people speed run video games, right? They're like, let me show you how fast I can play through Mario. I've met people like in real life who are like, yeah, my friend or my brother has the record for the fastest playthrough of these games that are like, you've never even heard of, right? Like nobody cares that you speed run some of these games.
But they did it. And the point is that you can do it too. You can. Now, no one else in your life will probably care. No one will care.
I want to know, even as
your wife will generously pretend to care.
I want to know what's the fastest, like what's the speediest way you could do this. And by speed running, what we're really saying is, hey, how could you combine the most categories in order to do this? So I'm thinking, as I'm just looking at our list, if you took a book you already own, if you already owned, I actually don't know. My guess is that 1984 is not actually in the Western canon, but if it was, one of these more classic dystopian novels, I was just thinking maybe you could take that, you could bundle that, and there's 3 potentially.
Mm-hmm. Now I got an idea for you. So you can definitely combine. There's actually a shocking number of dystopian sports novels. You got The Running Man, Maze Runner, Hunger Games.
Oh yeah,
Ender's Game.
That's wild. I didn't even think about those. But I guess you're right. These are dystopian novels. So they are in some ways about sports, although it's a little, I feel like that's a little bit of a stretch.
Well, I'm here to stretch the categories. But if you own any of those, then you're hitting 3. So, but I have my favorite dystopian sports novel. This is a dystopian sports novel. It's called Killer Bowl by Gary K. Wolfe. Now, I have to admit I cannot recommend this because I haven't read it. but it does sound. It sounds something. Let me read the description for you. 30 years in the future, the ultra-violent sport of professional street football, a phenomenally popular 24-hour-long athletic event, combines pro football with mixed martial arts and armed combat. On New Year's Day, quarterback TK Mann plays the most dangerous game of his life, the game known as Killer Bowl. This is the first novel by Gary K. Wolfe, famed creator of Roger Rabbit.
Wait, so it's the Roger Rabbit guy wrote a novel about killer street football.
Yeah.
That's
also 30 years in the future from when he wrote it was 2005.
That's pretty good. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm literally about to feed the Reading Restless categories into Grok, and I'm going to see if it can tell me what the best novel is to actually, combine all of this. Okay, so it did. By the way, I might as well be AI as it's thinking through it, as Grok is thinking, and it gives you a little bit. It pulled up, Western canon. It said Western canon, perhaps 1984. Nice.
Depends what list you use, but we could work with it.
Are you?
I'm a maximalist.
Smarter than an AI bot?
I'll throw out some other ideas while that's running. Book from the American Foundation that could be also from the Western canon. Actually, fairly easy depending on what list you're working with. Federalist Papers, Democracy in America, something like that. You could double up there as well.
For sure.
I couldn't really find anything that would double up with a biblical theology, so maybe Grok can help us out with that. I guess a book you already own
to fit anything else into that is probably a no.
Book you already own.
That's kind of like a pure category.
Yeah. I mean, as is Man's Search for Meaning. That one you kind of already have to own it if you're gonna double up. That's really your only option.
The only way to merge that one is through that. So what we're talking about is you could probably read like 4 books.
3 or 4, yeah.
3 or 4, get away with speedrunning. What I'd like is if anybody wants to try speedrunning this challenge, it would be awesome if you actually told us, how many books. And then on top of that, we could literally do, how short are the books? Because whoever can finish the fastest maybe can tell us, because that would be great. Okay, so this is what Grok tells me. Just pulled this up. Well, no single book perfectly combines all 7 categories from the list. And then it gives the list. There are several excellent options that overlap multiple categories. This allows you to double up and cover more ground with fewer reads. I've focused on strong fits based on established literary and historical sources, prioritizing overlaps that make sense for someone in ministry, like classics you might already own or those with theological depth. Okay, so, he actually found a couple. There's combining of biblical theology and sports.
I was actually wondering about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently there's a book called A Brief Theology of Sport, which technically could probably fall under the heading of biblical theology. I don't know, really. You can do anything and be like, well, it's a biblical theology because I just walked through the text of scripture to show you this. But somebody might want to check it out. That's fascinating. It does 1984, George Orwell. You heard it from me first. You heard it from Grok second. That's a way to, do both something from the Western canon as well as a dystopian novel. Or Federalist Papers. You heard it from Christopher first, heard it from Grok second. Who needs AI when you have people like us?
Maybe slightly above average IQ people like us.
Interestingly, Grok actually says biblical theology, one you already own, and also from the Western canon, it takes the Bible. Combine, it just says you should just read the Bible for that, which is interesting.
I guess that is one strategy you could do. That will not be an easy speed read, though.
He also, I keep calling Grok also dystopian novel about sports, The Running Man. So
Yeah.
you got most of Grok's answers already, Christopher.
I did my research.
You grokked it before.
Potentially also using some AI help.
Dude, you just repeated AI, and then I double checked it, and your AI was right.
Yeah.
Man, too good. Have you gotten started at all doing any of the reading Restless?
Yeah, I read Pericles from the Western canon. That's a play by Shakespeare. It's one of his lesser known plays.
Yeah.
It was really good. It starts off with a riddle that I won't spoil it for anyone. It's pretty quickly spoiled for you, but that makes you question the consequence of not getting the riddle correct is immediate death. And once you know the answer to the riddle, it makes you question how many people chose immediate death instead of answering that riddle correctly.
Fascinating.
And then I'm reading a book called Never Split the Difference, which is a book about negotiating. It's a book by a former FBI hostage negotiator. That's been really fascinating.
No kidding.
It's a pretty, like, his structure is pretty one note. Each chapter kind of starts with, like, he'll go through, like, here was this crazy thing that happened where we were negotiating about someone that got kidnapped or someone that, you know, something like that. And here's how I managed to work it out, or that kind of thing. But he kind of unpacks the lessons from different situations, and it kind of rides the line of being a little bit self-helpy, but it's a really interesting read, and I think it's probably going to be pretty helpful for just all kinds of negotiation. So
when your wife is like, "Hey, I need you to do this," you're going to be like, "Well,
how?"
Let me,
That's one of his
let me
strategies.
negotiate.
Is you just ask questions because you need them to provide. You need them to provide the method for how you can accomplish. You know, if someone kidnaps your wife and they're asking for $10 million, like, I'm sorry, I just don't have that. I can't help you out there. So how am I supposed to do that for you? So that's what I'll start using with my wife when she's asking me to wash the dishes.
What do you mean by that? True story. I have told my wife multiple times now, given the rise of AI, given that my voice is very out there in different ways where it would be very easy to clone it in some way, probably. I was like, hey, if you ever get a phone call and somebody says, hey, we kidnapped your husband, we need you to give us whatever money or whatever, information to get into your accounts, whatever it might be. And I was like, even if you hear me, even if it's like me screaming or yelling in the background, asking you to help, saying I'm in pain, whatever, just say, all right, go ahead and kill him and hang up. Because the chances that it's fake is super high. Super
high. Yep.
The chances, if it is real, dude, if somebody's willing to go through that trouble, they're probably going to kill me anyway. Right? Yeah. Like they're going to do it anyway. And this way, even when I die, you'll be fine, right?
At least your family's still provided for. Yeah.
Yeah. You have the life insurance money. You'll be just fine. Yeah. So I've just told her, except now what's going to happen is I'll be in that situation and I'll be like, no. Like, I really don't want you to, like,
it's really me.
It's worth it. It's worth it this time. I know I said to just tell him to kill me, but I'm telling you, it's worth it. Anyway. So the only book I've read so far this year, in its entirety, I've been reading East of Eden by John Steinbeck, and that's been wonderful. But I just finished rereading the other day. I just sat and read through The Abolition of Man by C.S. Lewis. Talked about it on the other episode too, that I was going to be reading that. And so that can at least count as a book I already own. A lot of the books, I'm trying not to buy many books this year. which has been a goal for several years, just to not really buy more books, just use the books that I have, read the books that I have. And so probably most of the books that I will read this year will be books that I already own. But I just finished that again. Let me recommend, if you haven't read it, go read it. Really phenomenal. It's a really short read. You can sit down, you can read it in probably like, I don't know, an hour and a half, something like that. Actually, I believe that you can just get it on YouTube too.
I was going to say there's a guy on YouTube that reads it, does a nice job with it.
Yes, there's definitely a YouTube version. I feel like there's even like somebody like almost like animated something with it at one point. I've seen a video like that. So you can just go and listen to that now. Super helpful. Where C.S. Lewis, starts with basically a critique of a children's book and just one phrase in a book that's written for children's education. And it's enough for him to to basically be like, hey, this is the problem with all of Western society and why we will be destroyed and destroy ourselves. And he saw it all from just the simplest little quote from a children's book that he was given to review. And then he just absolutely destroys it. Somebody sent him a book to review, and he was just like, by the way, if everybody listens to your book, it will destroy the very fabric of Western civilization, which is awesome. So highly recommend that. Hopefully you are going to be joining us for reading Restless this year. You don't have to do it in order, but if you are doing it in order, then let us know what biblical theology you're reading or planning to read. If you're a patron in the group chat or otherwise, just tag us on social media. Would love to find out what it is that you're reading. Christopher, any other thoughts about the speed reading or just the regular reading of reading Restless before we move to our next subject?
If you haven't read Canticle for Leibowitz, I would recommend that as a dystopian novel. It's a very...
Can you explain what that is? Can you explain the words you just said?
So Canticle for Leibowitz, it's a dystopian novel. It takes place, I think, several hundred or maybe even a couple thousand years after a nuclear apocalypse. And it's a 3-part book, and it takes place in 3 different time periods following that and the fallout of that. So Leibowitz is a Leibowitz, I don't know. He was an early figure after what they call the flame purge, the nuclear apocalypse, who worked to retain and keep written knowledge, because there was a movement immediately after that was reactionary, that it was the scientists, it was the knowledgeable people that gave us this horrible hellscape, and so we burn everything they made and we kill all of them. And so it was this, we have to get rid of all of the intellectual people and everything they left for us. And Leibowitz and his order of monks does their best to preserve it. And then years down the line, there's a order of monks dedicated to him and dedicated to keeping track of all of this saved knowledge, but none of them know what any of it means. So they're like illuminating manuscripts, but it's like electrical diagrams and that kind of thing. It's a fascinating read. It's not happy, but what dystopian novel is. Very, very good read. And if you're looking for maybe a low energy or just easy, very enjoyable Western canon book, Treasure Island. If you haven't read Treasure Island, it's phenomenal. It's fun.
You can read it, and then you can go and watch the Muppets Treasure Island version of it, and you and your whole family will enjoy it.
And you can watch Treasure Planet, which is also great.
There you go.
It's basically just the same story, but in space.
Awesome. Hope you're reading Restless with us. I know we all miss Matt already. I know I'm not used to hosting this show, but I hope this was enough to at least ease some of our pain while he's gone. Hope to have him back soon. We are going to keep talking, and so I don't know what we're about to talk about will be on the main feed or if it will end up with just the patrons. But Christopher and I are going to keep talking about the new food pyramid and Ozempic and protests in the Twin Cities and maybe a little bit of false prophets and their shenanigans, if you want to call it that. So if you don't see that on the main feed, it might just be for the patrons. Kind of depends on how the conversations go, if I'm honest. But if you're interested in that, can definitely check that out. And we will catch you again next time.